I knew that we would spend this whole chapter just being like, Luke, 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 man, isn't Luke interesting?
And it was great.
Hello, and welcome to Notes from the Oracle. I'm Connor, and together with Jack, my co-host from Cabin 6, we're going into uncharted waters as we explore the monstrous mythology of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Book 2, The Sea of Monsters. Chapter 9, I have the worst family reunion ever. And I think what Percy meant to say here is I have the worst family reunion ever, asterisk, so far.
Yeah, for now.
Because he's gonna have worse ones.
Yeah. Decent-ish chapter title. I don't know what else you'd call it. I still feel like it's a little odd to call family reunion. It technically is, but it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, not to skip over a bunch of stuff to get there, but Luke will call Annabeth and Percy cousins,
Yeah.
which is a little weird because Percy, I believe, is actually like Poseidon would be Luke's great uncle, which would make Percy Luke's first cousin once removed, maybe?
Wouldn't that be a second cousin?
You're right. I think it would be a second cousin once removed then. I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
fucking know.
understand how family
Yeah.
trees work.
It's
It's
the
loose
Greek
at best.
pantheon. It's a fucking tumbleweed as opposed to a family tree. So
Yeah.
again, technically correct, feels still a little weak in comparison to, I feel like, kind of the momentous occasion that occurs. There's a lot of big shit that happens in this chapter, some of
I've
which at this point in the book series we don't quite comprehend as being that huge. And then there are other things where even at this point it's like, holy fuck, the stakes are massively raised.
I got it. Tyson wrestles with man-eating bears.
There we go. That's a good one too.
Or we meet the golden coffin of doom. Would also work.
That's a great one too. Yeah. Perfect. There you
There were
go.
definitely some better options. There you go, Rick. Do those for the reprint where you fix the names of Phrixus in hell. I'm still mad about it.
Uh-huh. Oh, man.
Speaking of things that I would be mad about, not actually. Annabeth, at the very beginning of this chapter, they've just learned at the end of last chapter that Luke is on the cruise ship and he's planning something. So Percy and Annabeth, while Tyson is like, please, can we leave? We don't have to stay. They're like, no. We need to go figure out what the fuck Luke is up to. And Annabeth volunteers to go alone because she has her cap of invisibility, which I immediately chastised as like, is that a stupid fucking decision? And then I was like, maybe no, right? The one person who can be invisible, leave the others like locked in a safe room. And then I was like, splitting the party is literally always a bad idea. I'm torn here.
Well, okay, so splitting the party is a bad idea unless you're doing scouting.
Yeah, which she would
I
be
think
doing.
she would be doing. She's the rogue. She is quite literally just invisible, and she has a giant lumbering cyclops following them. So even if Percy is quiet, Tyson is so fucking big, I truly struggle to think that he would not creak with every single step. Or just like, I don't know, run into something, bump his head on the fucking ceiling. Who's to say? So I think she is correct from a purely tactical perspective of, hey, they quite literally will have no idea that I'm there unless they, smell me or something. But who can do that? Monsters? Not like we've seen those. That's her one lapse. But the logic still stands. Well, let's say, Percy, you're being quiet. Not only could they smell you, they could also see you. At the very least, I might be able to get some time where they're confused. They're like, why do we smell something but nobody's there? I don't think it was a stupid idea.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly where I fall at the end of it. It's like, I don't think it was a dumb idea, but I think the best idea is Tyson's idea. Nobody, please?
Yeah. Percy hit the ultimatum of we all go or nobody goes, and Tyson does his best little Odyssey reference by invoking the name of nobody. Nobody's gonna go. Honestly, Tyson gets extra layers and facets in this chapter. It's really fucking cool to see. He is terrified. He is fucking terrified right now.
The
And
logic,
re
like, that is the most logical take. And I understand Annabeth and Percy are also afraid, but, like, come on, guys, this is awful. This is so bad.
yeah, like, this is perhaps the worst situation they could be in right now, like, we gotta fucking leave. But Annabeth and Percy feed off of each other's chaotic energy and say, "Nope,
Yep.
we've gotta go do this."
We
Uh,
gotta know what Luke's up to.
yeah, and so in the end, they voted, and it led with Annabeth being invisible, Percy following along quietly, and Tyson chewing off his fingernails just with
Poor
fucking
guy.
nerves as they Scooby-Doo sneak their way through the cruise ship.
While they're doing that, I do like the little line about Tyson being able to carry all 3 full duffel bags, because it simultaneously makes Tyson more valuable, which affirms why he's on the quest at all, but also makes Polyphemus that much more terrifying, because if Polyphemus is also a Cyclops and Tyson can do this as a baby Cyclops, it just shows the strength that a Cyclops can possess.
They stop at what Percy describes as our cabin, which confirms they were not stupid and sleeping in totally different suites. They had adjoined rooms.
Yep.
They grab their stuff and they plan, which is good. They're like, "What are we gonna be doing? What are we gonna do to get through this?" Say, "We cannot stay another night. The zombie cruise ship, not welcoming for us. Even if they did have $1,000,000 bingo, it's not happening." Percy says, "All right, I got Riptide, I got my vitamins, I got my thermos from Hermes." And I like that Percy says, "I didn't want Tyson to carry everything." And I'm sure, one, that's just a, "Hey, big guy, I don't want you to have to be our pack mule." But also,
Yeah.
if something happens, that is literally all of their eggs in one basket.
And they've seen that specifically play out terribly for them when they lost all their shit on the bus. The, like,
Yes.
first hour of their quest last time.
Yeah, which is interesting because Tyson insists he wants to be helpful, and that makes sense. And then Annabeth says, don't worry about it." Which again, a little weird. I feel like their experience would tell them actually not a good idea. I don't know. Again, this is one of those decisions I see you could kind of split it either way. I could see Annabeth
Mhm.
saying, "Listen, this guy is literally so big. Carrying these things will not slow him down. It will slow us down."
Yeah. This is the optimal choice for distribution of the load that we need to bear, basically.
Mhm. But yeah, if Tyson gets, like, grabbed or fucking exploded or, I don't know, gets scared and runs away or is clumsy and drops shit, they're cooked.
Yeah.
They're screwed. So, I don't know, I guess that's a risk they're willing to take.
I guess. But with that, they do start making their way through what they're describing as the zombie cruise ship. And Annabeth, being in the lead, shoves Percy and Tyson into a supply closet because she can hear a couple of individuals who are more lucid than the zombie passengers. And one of them says, "You see that Ethiopian draken in the cargo hold?" One laughs, "Yeah, it's awesome." And so these are just like other demigods we learn that are just laughing about, like, dude, we've got a sick monster on this ship. Annabeth confirms that one of them is someone she actually recognizes. It's a guy named Chris Rodriguez from Cabin 11. And Percy recalls he's an undetermined camper who got stuck in the Hermes cabin because his Olympian dad or mom never claimed him. We're starting to really lean into the gods have fucked up. They are not
Yeah.
without folly, and that is specifically what is leading to this insurgence that Luke is putting together.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first show that it's not just Luke. Luke isn't some lone crazy guy. There are
Mhm.
other people, other half-bloods that are willingly joining. They are volunteering. And what Percy and Annabeth don't understand is that the war's already begun. It's already started. They
Mhm.
just don't realize they're in it yet.
Yes. Which is the worst place to be.
Yeah, pretty bad. not great. But I really like this. This is one of the first big drops in this chapter in terms
Yeah,
of raising of stakes. Oh, fuck. It's not just monsters, it's people that we would consider comrades, people that we did consider comrades not even a year ago.
yeah. It's realizing the range of Luke's influence throughout all of this as well. Because we talked last book a lot about Luke, because of course we did, specifically about how he is this leader among the campers. They trust him. When he says something, they turn their heads, they shut up and listen. And he's using that to his advantage. I'm sure these demigods are following in part because they're like, well, Luke wouldn't steer us wrong. He's Luke. Like, he cares
Right.
about us. And I gotta imagine that to some degree, at least at the start, he cared about the people on his side. By the time that we've gotten even to like now, where he's like, Agrius and Oreius eat half-bloods for breakfast, and we'll get there. You know, he's maybe lost the plot.
He still cares, it's just he's
Mhm.
changed what his in-group versus out-group is.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a very astute observation.
We'll get to the Luke stuff. We've got a lot we're gonna say about him, so let's keep steamrolling ahead.
I
I promise, Connor, we will break down more of that, but
absolutely. There is a little bit of good foreshadowing, though.
yes.
After they are pushed into the closet, the demigods pass and they get ready to start heading down. Percy says, we kept going down the corridor. I didn't need maps anymore to know I was getting close to Luke. I sensed something cold and unpleasant, the presence of evil. I think that's really fucking good foreshadowing because it means that Percy interprets that feeling as coming from Luke. And by the end of Luke's story, it will be, even though it isn't today, which I love that. I love that. I
Mhm.
love that Percy already associates that feeling with Luke, even though it's not Luke who's emanating it.
Yeah. I read it as more I think I agree with you in the sense of Percy is associating this with Luke. I didn't take it as, "Oh, Percy believes this is coming from Luke." It's, "Well, if Luke is anywhere, it's gonna be with this cold, awful, evil feeling."
Gotcha.
Slightly different,
Yep,
but
but
still
same.
core
Mhm.
concept.
Gotcha. But they continue to make their way through the ship. They pass all sorts of monsters, a dozen Lystragonian giants, two hellhounds, and even humanoid females with twin serpent tails instead of legs, which Annabeth whispers are the Scythian Dracini or Dracanae, which she explains they're dragon women. And these will end up being
Mhm.
like basically the foot soldier for Kronos' army. So we'll have lots of opportunities to see and discuss them in the future.
Yes, but this is what we heard last chapter, where it was the sound of, like, reptiles or snakes kind of roiling across the floor, shuffling. That's what
Mhm.
they had heard. Now we know. We can put a face and an image to these things.
Hooray! Horrifying dragon women.
Dragon ladies. Yup. And the monsters, they're in a semicircle around a young guy in Greek armor who is just fucking hacking away at a straw dummy. And Percy and Annabeth both look on in horror, seeing that this guy, this person, is hacking away at a dummy wearing a Camp Half-Blood t-shirt.
Yeah. And this is a quote, young guy in Greek armor. So the clear implication is this is also a demigod
Yeah.
who is actively relishing in the activity of effectively training to kill campers.
Yeah. Again, it's us versus them. They
Mhm.
are not us. The in-groups have shifted.
Yeah. The brutality of it. I really I hate using the word love here, but I love how you can just sense the character's emotions. Annabeth stepped away from the window. Her face was ashen. Percy mentions, come on, I told her, trying to sound braver than I felt. Like, this is properly terrifying. I mean, this is above and beyond the worst thing that could have happened. Luke is not just planning an invasion, he's not just working with monsters. He wants to tear us apart from the inside out. and he does not want to leave survivors.
Yeah, I mean, they just witnessed somebody who, again, I'm sure they know, just slaughtering an effigy of what represents them.
Yep.
This is the chapter. My main takeaway of this chapter. The war is already begun and you don't know it.
Yeah. And it's just passed you by.
Mhm. And
Man,
so
I
they
want to blame
they take
Chiron
that in.
so bad.
I mean, fuck, we might be able to. We learned some pretty insidious stuff later on, but we'll get there. We'll get
We'll
there.
get there.
Percy says, "We gotta go." And he says, what I'm thinking, the sooner we find Luke, the better.
Because then you could fucking leave.
Well, I'm like, now we can talk about him.
That's so true. I
Yeah.
I forgot. We're not there. We're not in danger. We just get to talk about how fucking cool this guy
We
is.
just get to relish in it. Yeah. So they continue down the hallway to these big double oak doors, and I like Percy just says, "It looks like they lead somewhere important." And you know what? That's a very fair description. It's vague, but it's also exceedingly specific in a sense where I can fill in the gaps enough to be like, "Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
All right. This is
absolutely.
the boss room door."
Yep. Oh, I know what these doors lead to. This is either someone who's going to give me a very important mainline quest or try to kill me. Or
Try to
both.
kill me or both. Yeah. But this is cool. This is where we get more from Tyson. They're about 30 feet away from the doors, and Tyson just stops. Kinda eerie. He just stops in his tracks, and he goes, "Voices inside." And Percy says, "You can hear that far?" And again, through these big, thick double oak doors.
Mhm.
And Tyson closes his eye like he's trying to concentrate. And then his voice changes, and it becomes what is described as a husky approximation of Luke's. And he just begins speaking, like, almost like he's overcome by, like, a spirit. Does the
Yeah, he's like a
prophecy
fucked up
ourselves.
radio.
Yeah, no, he is like a fucked up radio, that's a great way to put it. It's mid-sentence, he just starts, "The prophecy ourselves. The fools won't know which way to turn." And Percy says, like, I can't even react before Tyson changes his voice again, becomes deeper, gruffer, like the other guy that they'd heard talking to Luke outside the cafeteria. "You really think the old horseman is gone for good?" And this entire kind of it's not even is it exposition? Because we learn stuff, but it's more just we learn more what we don't know.
I think it does quantify as exposition, right? Because it's good to know what are the stakes. Furthermore, like, hey, you
Mhm.
also like there's some skeletons in Chiron's closet, which we're getting to. And we know that Luke is aware of what's going on at Camp Half Blood. But I like that it doesn't belabor you with it. This whole
No.
section takes up no more than like a half to three-quarters of a page before it resolves itself, which is why I feel like
Yeah.
you have that moment of like, "Is this exposition or is this just moving shit along?" Because it's doing both in a really smooth and effective way.
Yes. And like you said before, it gives Tyson even more purpose. Not only
Mhm.
that, it continues to differentiate the purpose of Tyson from Grover.
Yes.
And that's huge.
I actually have really, really enjoyed the way that they've both played with it really sucks to not have Grover here, and we can see that in things like Percy and Annabeth fighting and some of the drama that happened at Camp Half-Blood, while also balancing it out with, but that isn't to say we're left without an important member because Tyson also contributes something very valuable to the quest.
Yeah. Would totally 100% agree. And it is fun. It's it's funny you mentioned that. At this point in the book, I really thought that I'd be missing Grover.
Mhm.
And it's not that I don't, it's just that I'm having a lot of fun with these 3.
Might I put it out there that you're probably not super like, "Hi, Miss Grover," because we have gotten to regularly see what he's up to, and every single time it's been highly entertaining, and, like, just peak Grover moments of, like, "That's very clever. He's still terrified, and it's still horrible for him, but, you know, he's alive, and he's being Grover. Good for him."
I think there's an aspect of that that's true. It's more so I thought I would miss him interacting with Percy and Annabeth, the trio, the Trinity
Mhm.
being together. And it just hasn't been something that I've been longing for. Not that I wouldn't love to see that, but this little group of misfits that is definitely less cohesive, more antagonistic, but I would say is weirdly more action oriented. They're more
Mhm.
willing to do and act and go forward is
Yeah.
very fun to see. They ride the line of reckless a lot more, I
They
think.
don't have their voice of reason. I think it's one of those moments where you also forget that Grover is much older, and even if he's about the same level of maturity as the others, he has about twice as much physical life experience,
Yeah.
and he is also like, Annabeth has lived at Camp Half-Blood. Grover is a satyr. He
Mhm.
is, even though they may have, like, the knowledge of the monsters and how to fight them, Grover lives in this world much more full time than they do, so he's a lot more likely to be like, "Hey, let's have some pause. Let's maybe not
Yeah.
rush right in there." And this group, Annabeth is like, "I just don't the sooner I'm done, the sooner I don't have to deal with Tyson." And Tyson and Percy are just Tyson and Percy. Like,
Yeah. I would give a caveat to that. They have a voice of reason. We just said that Tyson was being the voice of reason. They have a voice of reason that they don't listen to and respect.
that's a very good point, actually. They're like, "That's not a voice of reason, that's the voice of a baby. Get the fuck out of
Yes.
here. We're gonna go into the
Exactly.
danger room. What's behind the big oak
Yes.
doors?"
You have described Tyson as being little brother coded because he is.
Mhm.
Grover really is he is the kind older brother. He is the
Yeah.
meek, quiet he's the older brother, but he's the older middle brother, you know?
Mhm. I 100% agree. I know exactly what you're saying. I know the vibe. That
Mhm.
captures it. He's got that added feeling of like, I don't want you to get hurt. That's gonna fall on me. Like,
Uh-huh,
this is gonna look
uh-huh.
so bad. Please come along. I like you. But if you die, that is so fucking bad for me. You have no idea.
Yeah, there's a softness with the responsibility as opposed to I would say a harshness that comes from more of the know-it-all oldest sibling,
Mhm.
with you, Connor, being the oldest sibling. I
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
I'm a know-it-all. I made a whole podcast just so I could actually the author of my favorite book series over and over again.
That's very true. But going back to how Tyson is useful, even if they don't listen to him as the voice of reason, they do listen to him as the voice of people that are far away. He
Horrifying.
continues on. Tyson laughs like Luke, says they can't trust him, not with the skeletons in his closet. The poisoning of the tree was the final straw. They're talking about Chiron here.
Mhm.
And Annabeth shivers because this is creepy.
Yeah.
She says, "Stop that, Tyson. How do you even do that? It's weird. It's creepy." And Tyson opens his eye and looks a little puzzled. He's like, "Just listening." And
He's just a
Percy
kid.
he is. I like to imagine Percy is just, like, pawing Annabeth's face. She's like, "You gotta keep going. What are they saying?
Yeah, he's like, "You gotta
What
shut
are
the fuck
they
up,
saying?"
Annabeth."
He's like, "This is the most important thing that we could possibly have. This is just raw intel. Shut the fuck up, Annabeth." And Tyson, being good, is listening to Percy, closes his eye again. He hisses in the gruff man's voice, "Quiet!" And then Luke's voice whispers, "Are you sure?" And then Tyson this is so cool. Tyson just keeps going back and forth. He goes back to the gruff voice, "Yeah, right outside." And Percy's like, "Wait, uh-oh." I
Uh,
realize what's happening a little too late. All Percy has time is to say, "Run!" And then the doors to the stateroom burst open, and there's Luke, and he's flanked by these 2 hairy giants armed with javelins, bronze tips aimed directly at all of their chests. And now we've got Luke properly. "Well," Luke said with a crooked smile, "if it isn't my 2 favorite cousins, come right
God, he's
in."
so cool. God, he's so fucking cool. He's got so
And
much
this is
swagger.
dude, and this is where this chapter, we're actually reading a James Bond story because
I
Luke
know.
is a Bond villain.
At least in this book, hot fucking damn, dude. Even down to the little detail of there's a page break. The stateroom was beautiful, and it was horrible. That's so Bond villain coded, I agree. Like, the idea that there's just this enormous amount of opulence, but it's
Yeah.
almost so opulent that you're like, "Oh, you can't have this much stuff and not be a terrible person."
Oh, yeah. It's tasteless, maybe in part because it's gaudy, but it's also tasteless because it's like, there is no ethical way that you've been able to acquire all of this.
Yes. Percy goes on to describe what he says are the beautiful parts and the horrible part. He says, the beautiful part, huge windows curved along the back wall, looking out over the stern of the ship, green sea and blue sky stretched all the way to the horizon. He describes the decor in the room, the food that's sitting on the table, very much Percy's style of food, pizza boxes, bottles of soda, and a stack of roast beef sandwiches on a silver platter. And then he moves on to the horrible part. On a velvet dais at the back of the room lay a 10-foot long golden casket, a sarcophagus engraved with ancient Greek scenes of cities in flames, heroes dying grisly deaths. Despite the sunlight streaming through the windows, the casket made the whole room feel cold. And Jack, I'm sure you have thoughts too. I love because you've called it out many times. Every time Kronos is invoked, the room drops in temperature. I know what's inside that casket, even as a first time reader, without having to have you tell me at all. I just go,
Mhm.
oh shit. Temperature dropped? Yeah, we should fucking leave.
Yeah, and this is another thing that this chapter does exceptionally well. There are mysteries and questions that are answered in this pretty quickly because I feel like, again, it's middle grade fiction, I understand that, but Rick is assuming that his audience isn't fucking stupid. He actually
Mhm.
respects them. He's like, all
Mhm.
these little initial mysteries, the is it this, is it that? I'm gonna answer some of them. And then I'm gonna drop even bigger ones. This is the
Mhm.
shit that actually matters. So, and again, we'll get to it, I'm sure, in a bit more detail, but it's not a matter of, what could be in there? It's Kronos.
Yep.
Luke explains it. It's not up
Yep.
for interpretation. That's what it is. It's like, oh, did you poison Thalia's tree? He said, yep, it was me. So
Who else,
there we go.
motherfucker? I'm
Yeah,
evil.
yeah. Like, you guys, why would I even try and lie about that? Yes. Yeah, I did that shit. And by the way, guys, that's not even the most important shit that's going on, you fools.
God,
Yeah.
and he does all of it while being hot? Fuck.
You kinda glossed over the beautiful parts. Again, I really wanna soak in the Bond villain-ness of this all. Not only does he have a beautiful view, but there's a Persian rug on the floor. There are these 2, like, plush silk sofas occupying the middle of the room, a canopied bed in one corner, a large, heavy, dark mahogany dining table in the other, silver cutlery and platters adorning all of it. And Luke is described as he very pompously spreads his arms and shows off his goods, says, "Ah, a little nicer than cabin 11, huh?" And he's wearing what, I'm sure in the mid-20 or I guess not 2010s, 2000s, the mid-2000s, was like the peak of rich boy couture.
Yeah, the
He's
fit.
not Yeah, he's wearing the fit. He's the, I had to do it to him fit right now. He's not wearing his Bermuda shorts and t-shirt. He's got a button-down shirt and khaki pants and leather loafers. It looks like he's getting ready for his internship at his father's firm. I think actually it's described as he looked like an evil male model. Yes, here it is. Showing off what the fashionable college-age villain was wearing to Harvard this year.
I love this motif of duality with Luke that they're presenting, right? We have the stateroom has the beautiful part, the horrible part. Luke has this male model Harvard grad look going on. And then it switches to he still had the scar under his eye, a jagged white line from his battle with a dragon. And propped against the sofa, his magical sword Backbiter, glinting strangely with its half steel, half celestial bronze blade that could kill both mortals and monsters. So we flip back from like regular guy to no, this guy actively wants to kill you. And then right after we remind you that this guy actively wants to kill you, he waves his hand and says, sit, and does chair magic. He Hermes god of chairs confirmed.
I
Luke waves his
I
hands
also
and 3 dining chairs scoot up to the center of the room. I love that
I
Percy's
know
like, none of us sat.
yeah, I also like that you pointed out the chair magic because I noticed that too. I was like, he's getting stronger. Not only can
He
he
is.
summon a little scorpion and turn invisible, but he can also move chairs with his mind. What's next?
Dude, his powers are unmatched. I'm just
Mhm.
saying, no other demigod has tapped into so many domains. This guy is child of god of scorpions, chairs, and thieves. He's got too
And,
much.
we joke, but there's some truth there.
Mhm.
It's like, "Wait a minute, this guy can just do that now? What the fuck else can he do?" Because he did it very nonchalantly. He just waved his hands and the chairs just moved on their own. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck else is this guy what does he got? Surely it doesn't end at chairs.
I still think that that is one of the things that makes Luke most fascinating as a character. He can simultaneously base his entire argument, his whole being, and his whole movement on the idea that what the gods have done is unfair. They have too much power. But also, look at me and all this cool shit I can do. Look at these powers I've been granted. It's a very interesting dichotomy to me. It just feels like, again, and we've touched on it before, he has this, despite all of his machinations and planning, he has this obliviousness to him. That he is, in many ways, like Percy, chosen and special. He's the only camper that's been on a quest outside of Percy and now Clarice in the last decade or more. And he's like, wasn't good enough. They don't care about me at all. And it's like, oh my god, dude. Get it straight. Pick a lane. Pick a lane.
Yeah. Pick a lane.
But again, I say
Yeah.
that, but that's what makes him so compelling in my eyes.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah, he's a man of contradictions. It's awesome. It's great to see. And yes, Percy notices the magic chairs. He says, "None of us take a seat." And Luke's massive friends are still there pointing their javelins, and Percy starts describing them a bit more. "What exactly are we dealing with?" And he says, "They looked like twins, but they
Correct.
definitely weren't human. They
Mostly
stood about
correct.
8 feet tall, for one thing, and wore only blue jeans because probably, their enormous chests were already shag carpeted with thick brown fur. They had claws for fingernails, feet like paws, and their noses were stubby and snout like. Their teeth are all pointed canines. So these are beast men. We're almost looking at like werewolves.
Yeah. Or
And
bears.
or werebears, as we come to find out. Luke very smoothly says, "Where are my manners? These are my assistants, Agrius and Oreius. Perhaps you've heard of them." And Percy is so mad. He doesn't even say like, "I'm really trying to remember who these guys are." He just goes, "I said nothing."
I will
I
say, I fucking doubt it. How would he know who these people are? It's fine. We'll get there. Continue.
Yeah, he says, "Despite the javelins pointing at me, it wasn't the bear twins who scared me." And I love this. He's saying, "I've thought about this meeting with Luke again many, many times since he tried to kill me last summer. I'd pictured myself boldly standing up to him, chosen the exact words that I was gonna challenge him to a duel with. But now that we're face to face, I can barely stop my hands from shaking. It's real. It's real."
Dude, it's so good. That's the thing. We're at one of those chapters where it's like, fuck, I have nothing to add. It just reads so good. Everything that Percy is feeling makes so much sense, and it jumps off the page. It yanks at you. Obviously, you don't actually feel yourself getting scared, but like you feel your heart rate start to jump a little. Percy's emotions are visceral, and I feel like it's just so easy to put yourself in that moment of like, I've been there, I've stood in front of someone that I had so much to say to, when I could
Mhm.
make not a single word come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And then Luke goes on. He tells us the story of Agrius and Oreius, and he chastises Percy again. You don't know Agrius and Oreius' story? Their mother, well, it's sad, really. Aphrodite ordered the young woman to fall in love. She refused and ran to Artemis for help. And he continues and explains that Aphrodite gets her revenge. She bewitches Artemis. And when she is bewitched, she has sex
She
with a
does
bear.
not bewitch Artemis.
Sorry, she bewitches the woman. She has sex with a bear. Then, when Artemis finds out the woman had sex with a bear, she, quote, abandoned the girl in disgust. And that's how Agrius and Oreius came to be. So Luke says the girl's twin sons here, Agrius and Oreius, have no love for Olympus. They're like half-bloods well enough, though. And then Agrius growls, for lunch. And the other one, like a
I
fucking
know.
cackling hyena in the
He's
background.
like a hyena. Yeah. And I do like how obviously they're both crazy, but this Aureus guy, I'm gonna say Oreius, Orius, Oreius,
That's
whatever. You're
fine.
gonna hear me pronounce it like 17 different ways.
I had to settle on a
But
pronunciation before today's myth section. That's why I only have the one version.
very fair. I have not settled, and I think I'll refuse to settle. So, I
I'm
guess
here for
count
it.
how many times I call it one versus the other. But he is like a hyena. He laughs and he's licking his lips, and I like Percy and Clues, he kept laughing like he was having an asthmatic fit until Luke and Agrius both just stared at him. Agrius goes, "Shut up, you idiot! Go punish yourself." And Oreius whimpers. He goes, "Oh man!" He charges over to the corner of the room, slumps onto a stool, and starts smashing his forehead against the dining table as hard as he can, making all the silver plates rattle. Which is just like, is it funny? Yeah. Is that also kinda fucking awful? Yes.
Is. Here's my thing. I love that we're halfway through book 2 and we're already at the point that Percy's like, there's not even a line in here that was like, "That was weird," or anything to that extent of like, kind of odd." They just fully are like, "Move past. Anyhow, moving on." Luke acted like this was perfectly normal behavior. "Well, Percy, we let you survive another year. I hope you appreciated it." They're straight up all just moving right on.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's something about, like, self-punishment and self-flagellation that just makes my skin crawl.
I agree. That's why I think it's so fucking weird that it's barely acknowledged.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Percy thinks that Luke acts like this is all totally normal, and he makes himself comfortable on the sofa, and he props his feet up on the coffee table with his shoes on, perhaps the most evil thing Luke has done.
Yeah, that's where you draw the line?
I think so. And as he puts his disgusting loafers upon the coffee table, he says, "Well, Percy, and this is the big point. We let
Mhm.
you survive another year. Hope
Yeah.
you appreciated it." And then hits him with the, "How's your mom? How's your mom doing, Percy?" Just so threatening.
The taunting in
Incredibly
that moment.
threatening.
Yes. Oh my god. "How's your mom? How's school? We know everything about you and what you've been doing. I'm so glad that you're alive. We kept you alive. You're welcome."
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
fucking crazy. It's
It's nuts.
insane.
And I like how Percy, maybe this is character growth on his end, maybe this is truly a testament to how scared he is. I'm not sure because it's not explicitly said, but
Mhm.
he doesn't take the bait.
Yeah. Which is
This
good.
I think
Well done.
yeah, I'm pretty sure this entire interaction, he doesn't take the bait.
Mhm.
He is thrown way off kilter several times, and he admits as such, but we will see it is not Percy that loses his shit. It's actually Annabeth, which
Mhm.
is fascinating and makes a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
to get to that point, after he is implicitly threatened, saying, "Hey, we let you live. How's your mom?" Percy just sticks to business. "You poisoned Thalia's tree." And Luke sighs. He goes, "Yeah, right to the point, eh? "Yeah, okay, yeah, I poisoned the tree. So what? What now?" And
Lack of care is so palpable. He's so cool.
right. Well, because I'm sure he's thinking, like, "I'll tell you whatever the fuck I want. You're not gonna leave. Like, now that you know it, what are you gonna do? The damage has already been done,
Mhm.
and also, even if you told other people, you're not gonna get the chance. That's not it's an
Yeah,
impossibility
it's
right
moot
now.
point.
Yeah, and this is what sends Annabeth over the edge. She says, "How could you?" She sounds so angry, Percy felt like she'd just explode. That Thalia saved your life, our lives. How could you dishonor her? And this is where, again, I think I described it in book 1, the Castlevania.
Mhm.
I stop you in the name of my mother. This endures in the name of your mother. It's this dynamic of Luke not understanding or refusing to understand. He is using the memory of this person that at one point I'm sure he cared of deeply about, and in his own twisted way, I think still does, but he's using it for selfish and petty means. And he snaps right back. The mask has fallen. The mask has fallen from Annabeth. The mask has fallen from Luke. He says, I didn't dishonor her. The gods dishonored her, Annabeth. If Thalia were alive, she'd be on my side. And Annabeth, I can just imagine, just fucking face beat red, holding back tears. She just goes, liar!
Yeah, it's the Anakin Skywalker.
Yes. Yeah. Except she's right.
Yeah.
She has the wisdom to understand that this is absolutely not what Thalia would want, that she would be disgusted.
Mhm.
I love the word being used, dishonor. Dishonor. Because that honor is clearly so fucking important to Luke as a concept.
Yeah. He spent all of his time at Camp Half-Blood as a person in a role of responsibility. He feels honored, and he feels like he knows a lot about honor, more than the gods do. It's truly, I think it's what drives him, and, when you read those lines, I don't know if you mentioned it at all in your notes, I noted the talk of what Thalia would care about in terms of honor, especially given all the duality we've seen in regards to Luke, really gave me Zuko vibes this chapter. That, like,
Mhm.
lost kid who doesn't know what he wants, but knows he wants his pride intact more than anything else,
Yes.
really.
Yeah. Having one's own honor, he is in the phase, if we're gonna compare it to Zuko, he believes that it is stripping somebody or something else of its honor to reclaim his own, as opposed to
Mhm.
maintaining what is his. It starts from yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody else can give it to you. If you're constantly in pursuit of it, you'll never find it.
And yet, he turns around and he immediately goes seeking validation, or at the very
Mhm.
least implies that that's what he wants from them. He says, "If you knew what was coming, you'd understand." And Annabeth calls him out on his bullshit again. She says, "I understand you want to destroy the camp. You're a monster." And at this point, he's getting his calm back. He shakes his head. "The gods have blinded you. Can't you imagine a world without them, Annabeth? What good is that ancient history you study? 3,000 years of baggage. The West is rotten to the core. It has to be destroyed." And then he begs her to join him so that they can rule together as father and son or something like that.
Yeah, well,
Um,
but it's important how he says it, because
that's
he
fair.
is one of his driving points that he keeps bringing up is that, and he says it here, the gods use you. You are a tool. You are a means to an end. And what does he tell Annabeth? He says, the West is rotten to the core. It has to be destroyed. Join me. We can start the world anew. We could use your intelligence, Annabeth.
Mhm.
So
That's a
he
fair point. I
is
hadn't caught that. That's really good.
doing the exact same thing. Because again, he goes so back and forth between the gods should have used me more, the gods consider us useless, to, oh, the gods only use us because they view us as tools, means to an end. Fucking bacterium in comparison to them, a necessary part of their ecosystem, but not an important one. Whatever. Again, this is the pick a lane loop. Your dissonance, your fucking double think here, it just doesn't add up.
It's so funny that you bring that up and that it is literally repetition of what the gods have done, because I caught on to the line right before that where he describes ancient history as 3,000 years of baggage. He is literally those who do not understand history will be doomed to repeat it. And
Right.
he is restarting the cycle. And he's not even
Yes.
continuing the cycle. Like, there has been a cycle of the age of the giants, the age of the titans, and now the age of the gods. It's not unreasonable to believe that there should be something after the age of the gods. And in fact, in actual Greek mythology, we have a name for that. We have the age of the titans, the age of the gods, the age of heroes, and the age of men. So, like, there is a cycle here to follow through. But instead, he is literally going to pull it all the way back to the age of the Titans and repeat history. It's really fascinating. That's why I'm like, I really like your catch that you're absolutely right. He wants to use demigods just like the gods have because he has learned nothing, because he has not listened to Annabeth's intelligence. Her comeback of because you have none of your own, sick burn, is quite specifically true, though, because if they had any wisdom or intelligence of their own, they would see that what they're doing is exactly what they stand against.
Yeah, and then the contradictions and the hypocrisy continues. It
Mhm.
continues. Luke is now, again, because Annabeth lost her cool, he's got her on the back foot. He narrows his eyes. He says, "I know you, Annabeth. You deserve better than tagging along on some hopeless quest to save the camp. Half-Blood Hill will be overrun by monsters within the month. The heroes who survive will have no choice but to join us or be hunted to extinction. You really wanna be on a losing team? Dot, dot, dot. With company like this?" And he points at Tyson. And again, hey, pot, meet kettle, traveling with the
Mhm.
Cyclops, you are surrounded by monsters.
Dude, there's like something about this scene that works on so many levels. Because yes, Luke is surrounded by monsters, so really fucking rich of him as he's flanked by these man-eating bears to chide her for traveling with a Cyclops that has genuinely been helpful and kind. But I also love that Annabeth is having that pot meet kettle moment of, at least to me, I read her as she goes, "Stop it!" She is just, she can't hear it. I think she's starting to realize that, oh God, my hatefulness toward Tyson has perhaps been invalid. I'm sounding like Luke,
Mhm. And it's
which I
important we skipped over it. We jumped over it really quick, but I'm just gonna throw it in there so we have a more full picture. He points at Tyson. Percy's like, "Alright, hey, fucking chill."
mhm,
And Luke continues to chide. "Traveling with a Cyclops? Talk about dishonoring Thalia's memory. I'm surprised at you, Annabeth. You of all people." And that's when she breaks. She hits the, "Stop it!" And
yeah,
she's having a mental breakdown. Her face is in her hands, she's, like, clawing at it, she's fucking, I can imagine she's, like, pulling at her hair, just trying to, like, force the tears back into her eyes. It's fucked up. It's truly kinda gut-wrenching seeing this because Luke is older. He is practically an adult,
no, he's 19 in this
basically.
book.
Yeah, so he is an adult.
Yes,
There
he
is
was
this
18 last
adult,
book. He's 19 this one.
this older brother figure that knows Annabeth better than probably anybody else. I would say at this point, even probably better than Percy, just by
Mhm.
sake of they've known each other longer. He's seen her grow up and he's poking. He's poking and prodding at all of the most sensitive, raw areas emotionally that he can. And
Yeah,
he's knowingly doing that. It is
absolutely.
entirely malicious.
Yeah, it's cruel. And I even think that the direction he takes the conversation, he plays a card just to make Annabeth even more off her game. And probably
Yeah.
because he thinks it will off put Percy as well. And he needs to get the upper hand on Percy. But taking Annabeth completely out of commission is also incredibly valuable. Because at that point, as Percy's like, leave her alone and leave Tyson out of this, Luke laughs and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I heard your father claimed him." And Percy says, I must have looked surprised because Luke smiled. Yes, Percy, I know all about that. And about your plan to find the fleece. What were those coordinates again? 30, 31, 75, 12. You see, I still have friends at camp who keep me posted. Percy retorts, spies, you mean? But Luke clearly meant for Percy to recognize that they're spies. Now Percy's like, fuck, when I get back to camp, can I even trust everyone there? Right? Percy, this whole time, his whole thing is like, I need to stay calm. I need to trust the people next to me. And Luke is trying to sow any amount of uncertainty into him. And we don't get Annabeth's response to this because, again, I think, as you put it, she is barely managing to hold it together. And the idea that there are even more people at camp who are endangering her friends, her home,
Mhm.
it's, I think it's too much. And
Yeah.
Luke just knows exactly where to prod to do the most damage.
Dude, the name of this chapter could have been Too Much to Bear.
Oh, fuck.
TOO much TWO bear?
Too much
Oh,
to bear.
yeah.
Yeah, that wins. Fuck. Somebody put us in charge of naming the books.
I
All
know,
right.
Rick, hit us up.
Hit us up. Yeah, are you still writing that third book in that most recent trilogy? Just let us write it. It'd be great. I've read all the books recently.
Sorry for that sidetrack, but that was the most important thing I think I had to say this entire
Yeah,
episode.
you did really
Um,
derail us. I think that comment was
yeah.
just too much for us to bear.
Yes, thank you, thank you. But Annabeth she's over the brink now. And
Yep.
I love that you pointed out Luke really is taking them out of commission as much as he can. And it's not said. We are entirely speculating based on what we know about Luke's character. But I like the idea that he is like it's understood that they would show up on the cruise ship, correct? Like
Yeah.
it was understood that that would happen.
They were floating the cruise ship outside of Camp Half-Blood.
Right.
Like, there's no way that that wasn't absolutely intentionally goading someone to go on there, and if you're putting it on a ship on the water, you know it's gonna be Percy. You know it's gonna be the
Right.
son of Poseidon.
Yes. But where Luke might have been caught off guard, in fact, he was caught off guard, is they overheard shit. They were
Mhm,
able to sneak around and get past stuff and collect intel. More importantly, Annabeth was able to gather intel, which is
mhm.
incredibly dangerous
Yeah,
because she
dangerous.
is very, very smart and incredibly intuitive. She can piece together shit with the barest of clues. And I think he would recognize that. I like to think he recognizes that and is like, he's doing kind of a Sherlock Holmes. He's like, I need to cripple this person
Yeah,
mentally because that is her most dangerous weapon.
he needs to take her apart and put her out of commission, and the easiest way to do that is to make her believe that she has been perhaps misreading every situation for years. And we know
Yeah.
that's not the truth, but she doesn't know
Yes.
that right now, and that
That
is dangerous.
yes. That wisdom, that intuition that you hold so dear, your logical brain, you've been wrong the entire time and you haven't even known it.
And dude, not to move on from this, but to layer on top of it, what's crazy to me is he can tell the moment that he's got her. And for
Mhm.
me, I read the moment where Percy says, spies, you mean, and then Luke continues with his long monologue. He's
Yeah.
recognized that Annabeth has not retorted. Which
Yes.
means, okay, I've won. I've gotten her out of commission. And then he immediately pivots and starts needling at all the things that piss Percy off. But what's
Yes.
fascinating is that it's immediately shown that he doesn't know Percy as well. Because he's like, how many insults from your father can you stand, Percy? You think he's grateful to you? You think Poseidon cares for you any more than he cares for this monster? And what's to me, what really stands out from that is one, we just saw and talked about last chapter how it's like, you picked a bad time to be like, ha, your dad doesn't care about you. He literally just helped. And
Mhm.
two, he thinks that Percy would be upset or offended to have Tyson as a brother. And Percy
Right.
is definitely, honestly, both of those things. But he is not more upset or more offended than he is genuinely compassionate and wanting to be there as a brotherly figure for Tyson.
Yes.
And so I think it's one of those moments where Luke has genuinely misunderstood the situation, misread Percy, and it's going to lead to him not getting that upper hand that he wants. And he even
Yeah.
tries to then play the fucking Chiron lied to you card, bringing up the great prophecy and be like, do you have any idea what's in store for you if you reach your 16th birthday? Has Chiron even told you the prophecy? And Percy even acknowledges that Luke knows exactly how to throw him off balance. But the fact
Yes.
that he can, like, understand that means that he is doing better than Annabeth right now. Percy
Mhm.
knows the game Luke is playing.
The reason why is because this is not just a rhetorical, like, back and forth. This is a duel. We are
Yes.
watching a duel. And who are the 2 best duelists at camp? Luke
Mhm.
and Percy. And we are seeing Luke in his duelist mind go to work. This is what is going through his brain when he is sword fighting. He
Yeah.
is undoing, he is finding weaknesses, he's pressing the advantage where he can, and it is similar to when Luke was training Percy early on, where Luke is beating the fucking piss out of him. But then Percy throws some water on his head, gets that second wind, and presses back, and it actually surprises Luke. And that's what we get. That's
Mhm.
what we get later on in this conversation as he is now like, "All right, Annabeth's out of commission. Time to start fucking destabilizing Percy. Time to just ruin his pride, his trust, feed into that rage, that frustration, make him angry, make him righteously upset." That is where I can get him to, if not join me, then at the very least not be in comfort. That's where I don't want him to be.
Yeah.
So he brings up the prophecy, which is huge. Brings up the prophecy. We've heard about it before. Percy even says, I knew that there was a prophecy. I knew that there was something big that Chiron heard from an oracle many, many years ago. And part of it dealt with me. But I don't know about this 16th birthday thing. Like, if I reached it, I don't like the sound of that. And Percy pulled strong. He says, I know what I need to know, like who my enemies are. Luke goes, You're a fool. And this is where Luke, for a moment, shows some weakness, gets caught off guard because there's the element of one, Percy's stronger than he thinks, and
Mhm.
two, Tyson is there. And that's the fucking hidden element.
I was about to say
Tyson
Tyson is the
smashes,
wild card.
yes, he smashes a nearby dining chair into fucking splinters. And he says, again, what might be the second fully formed sentence that he's ever uttered. Percy is not a fool. And he charges. This is, again, we get to see another aspect of Tyson, something that we saw before. He was a protector, but this is where we see him angry. We see him
Mhm.
rageful. We see him so, what I would say, similar to Percy, righteously furious at the injustice that's unfolding in front of him. And so he charges Luke, his fists come down towards Luke's head, is gonna turn him into a fucking, Gallagher watermelon, just squash it. But unfortunately, the bear twins intercept. They each catch one of Tyson's arms and stop him cold. And Connor, that's really bad
It's
because
real
as you
bad.
mentioned earlier, Tyson's really fucking strong.
Yep.
So if they can just stop him, oof, that's
Uh-oh,
tough.
we're in
Yeah, yeah.
danger.
His big guy is much bigger than our big guy, and he's got 2 of them.
Yep.
They push Tyson back, he stumbles, he falls to the carpet so hard that the entire deck shakes. And Luke, I'm sure he's trying to keep his cool. I'm sure he was shitting his pants for a moment there.
Yep.
He
But
just goes, "Too bad, Cyclops." Go ahead.
here's my thing. I wonder if Luke recognizes that in that moment, it took both of the Bear twins to stop Tyson. If Annabeth wasn't out of commission, Percy and Annabeth could have 2-on-1'd Luke, and they might have been able to actually deal some damage. in a 2-on-1 fight like that because we know Percy's out of practice. I genuinely believe that Percy, if he gets into a duel with Luke here 1-on-1, he loses. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think it goes to show everything he's done up to this point, even laying out just like removing Annabeth from the fight. That's not a contingency. That is the plan. And here is the evidence that it was necessary.
Mhm.
And even more so because I love the way you framed this as a duel. I hadn't thought of it that way, but when you start to like look at it from that perspective, Luke starts to monologue again as he's like, looks like
Yeah.
my grizzly friends together more than a match for your strength. Maybe I should let them. And then he gets cut off because Percy
Mhm.
cuts in. Percy sees an opening. He says, Luke, listen to me. Your father sent us. And you know he strikes a nerve because Percy says his
Uh-huh.
face turned the color of pepperoni. Don't even mention him. And now Percy's like, I got you. I have got you hook, line,
Yes.
and sinker.
I keep thinking about the parallels to when they were doing their initial training, and
Mhm,
Tyson is the water on Percy's head. He's the wild card that Luke didn't plan on, and
mhm.
now he's able to press on that advantage. Again, it's just the parallels are really cool. If they're accidental, genuinely, what a fucking awesome mistake or sheer coincidence because it's cool. We've seen this before. We've seen this before, and we're seeing it again in a different format where the stakes have never been higher.
Yeah. All of this is so good. It's such an interesting battle of wits because Percy is not the type of character that you expect to engage in a battle of wits. And he does on multiple occasions. And I think they're always genuinely pretty interesting because Percy is quick on his feet and he's unpredictable. But Luke is also quick on his feet and unpredictable. But in this moment, Percy has gotten him and he says, and he's talking about Hermes. He told me he won't give up on you, no matter how angry you are. And Luke roars, Angry? Give up on me? He abandoned me, Percy. I want Olympus destroyed. And he just keeps going about. He's going to turn it all to rubble. Each time a half blood joins us, the Olympians grow weaker and we grow stronger. And then he points at the sarcophagus. He grows stronger. And now he's made it abundantly fucking clear. But here's my thing. In this moment, I think that is Luke having to pull out his trump card
Yep.
because he recognizes he's on the back foot. He's losing, no less. If
Mhm.
Annabeth starts to come to and Tyson makes another go at him, he is fucked. So he's got to play his ultimate, no, 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 I win. I have Kronos in the room with me.
Yeah.
And the tide turns again. Luke
Uh-huh. You mean he turns the tide by doing an unfair trump card, like when he disarmed Percy, how Ares disarmed him?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I Dude, I had not put together that this is like a perfect parallel of their first duel, but you are exactly fucking correct. And so, just as he says it, he says he is reforming, little by little. We're calling his life force out of the pit with every recruit who pledges our cause. Another small piece appears. And we find out Luke played this card. He did this little maneuver at the exact right moment because Annabeth is back. She says, That's disgusting. And Luke reminds them, Your mother was born from Zeus's split skull, which I should have done that myth for today. Fuck, that would be so good.
Damn. I doubt Athena will ever come up ever again. I
Ever
doubt her
again.
sprouting from Zeus's head is never gonna get mentioned.
We could have talked about time travel.
What? Excuse me?
Yeah, that's related to that myth. Moving on.
Alright.
No, I'll give it to you. Hephaestus is specifically born as revenge from Hera for Zeus creating a child on his own, so she creates a child on her own. But Hephaestus forges the axe that is used to split open Zeus's skull to let out Athena. So Hephaestus must have, in Greek mythology, canonically invented time travel. Makes sense. He's the god of machines. He's the god of inventions. So time travel confirmed.
Ah, wow. Alright. I won't question that.
Yep. I guess we'll have to save that for another day.
I guess so. Speaking of Hephaestus, um, Luke continues and says, "Listen, your mom's fucking gross, Annabeth, alright? But
Yep.
here's what really matters. Soon there's gonna be enough of the Titan Lord that we can make him whole again, and we're gonna piece together a new body, a work worthy of the forges of Hephaestus." And Annabeth hits the, "You're insane!
Yep. Classic.
You're insane! You're crazy!" Like, "Yeah, man, I know." Unfortunately, he's kinda spitting on a couple of things, but now he's tempting them. He is tempting, trying to lure them. He says, "Come on, join us. You're gonna be rewarded. You have powerful friends, sponsors rich enough to buy this cruise ship, and so much more." And then he miscalculates again, but he doesn't realize it. He says, "Percy, your mother will never have to work again. You can buy her a mansion. You can have power, fame, whatever you want." And while one might think, "Oh, Percy would surely love for his mom to not have to work ever again. Like, that would be awesome." Uh,
Mhm.
Sally wants to do stuff, though. Sally
And
doesn't want to be beholden to her son and feel like a burden. Doesn't necessarily mean she wants to work at the candy shop for the rest of her life, but what does she do when she gets money? She goes to school.
mhm. No, you make a very good point, and I would say above that, we open this novel really seeing that Percy wants to distance his demigod life from her. I think the last thing he would want to do would be like, "Hey, these are my spoils from my demigod life. Let me
Uh-huh.
entrench you in all of the danger that that entails." Not to mention, I'm just gonna point it out here, the fucking 1% fucking shit up again. Sponsors rich enough
I
to buy
know.
this cruise ship?
Uh-huh.
Damn. Sponsors out here
Yeah.
like, the 1% even wants the rise of Kronos.
He says, "Come on, Percy, we've got private equity. We've got BlackRock funding. You can't
Yes.
beat us."
But no, you make a
Yeah.
very good point that he misses the mark on that, and I think he misses the mark on Annabeth as well. He says, "Annabeth, you can realize your dream of being an architect. You can build a monument to last 1,000 years." But the thing is, Annabeth wants to do it on her own merit. That's always been her thing, right? I should be
Mhm.
on your quest because I am the best. I am the most well prepared. I know the most, and you won't survive without me. She doesn't want a fucking handout. And so she tells him, go to Tartarus.
Yes, another important distinction as well. He says a temple to the lords of the next age. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying Annabeth is a traditionalist. She also has problems with the gods. Like, you'd be fucking stupid not to.
I
But what
mean,
she wants to do is build a monument to their glory, the glory of what they could be, what they should represent. That's
I
what
would
she
even
wants.
disagree with that. I mean, I don't think you're wrong that, like, yes, she would want to honor the gods in some way, but think of the things that she has gone out of her way to see: the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and the St. Louis Arch. Man made objects that glorify man and men, not the gods.
Mm.
I don't think she wants to make something to honor the gods. I think she wants to make something that she believes will be persistent throughout time to show the greatness of what humanity can achieve. She wants to be the marker to which other humans strive to achieve, not
Ah.
bowing at the feet of some immortal being. And yes, Annabeth, like, we know she has respect for the gods, but I'm just pointing out there's a pattern of every big architectural monument that she goes out and seeks out is a monument by humans to humans.
I guess I'd push back on that a little bit by saying, what monuments to the gods would she see otherwise in Virginia?
So fucking valid.
Also, getting dangerously close to Tower of Babel. Dangerously close to Tower of Babel. Also, to push back even more, if there's any child that understands the importance of not making a monument to mankind's hubris, it's a child of Athena.
That's
You
very
know,
true.
the one whose mom is like, "Don't you ever fucking think that you are better than me at anything, because I'll turn you into a spider, or a
Yeah.
constellation, or I'll
Yep.
just kill you."
Grease spot time.
I think, and again, this is totally speculation and digging into the characters in ways that are entirely just headcanon. But I, as somebody who lives in Washington, DC, I love going to the different monuments and memorials. And there is a spiritual kind of feeling that you have. It's totemic when you visit, that no matter how fucking awful the country is, you feel a pride, a patriotism, and it's because these monuments or memorials or quotes might come from imperfect men or a country that is not always great as we would like to claim, but the words and what they represent are platinum, even if the people are tarnished, even if the place is tarnished. What to strive for is glorious. What we
Yeah.
should try and represent and achieve, that's the point of it. So I do think, and maybe this is me projecting onto Annabeth, my sister from Cabin 6, she would want to make a monument to the gods, not in blind worship, but in this is what we should be striving for. Because there are parts of you that are golden, that are
Yeah.
untarnished.
I guess what I was trying to achieve, because I agree with everything you said, is the idea that, like, you mentioned that there's this fervor for the things that, and you described it as patriotism, right? For what it represents. I think that's what Annabeth wants to create, right? She doesn't want to make it on someone's handout because she wants to inspire that
Right.
fervor in someone else.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is where the duel of wits comes to its end. Annabeth tells Luke to go to Tartarus. He sighs. A shame. And furthermore, Bond villain ass shit.
Uh-huh.
He picks up something that looked like a TV remote, presses a red button, and within seconds, the doors of the stateroom opened and two uniformed crew members came in, armed with nightsticks. And we find out these are just more glassy eyed mortals that are fucking zombified by the mist or whatever. And Luke says, "Ah, good, security. I'm afraid we have some stowaways. Okay, you gonna stroke your cat while you're at it?"
Yep. Mhm.
And Luke then turns to Oreius and he says, "It's time to feed the Ethiopian draken. Take these fools below and show them how it's done." And I like that we've established now that Oreius is the fucking stupid one and Agrius is the smart one, because he's like, "Let me go too. My brother is worthless. That's Cyclops." And Luke goes, "Is no threat." Underestimating Tyson immediately. Getting
Mhm.
cocky, Luke. You're losing your touch. And he glances back at the golden casket and says, "Agrius, stay here. We have important matters to discuss." And he goes, "But Aureus, don't fail me. Stay in the hold to make sure the Draken is properly fed." And so they start escorting them out. Our heroes have their out now. Percy thinks back to what Luke had said earlier, that the Bear twins together were a match for Tyson's strength, but maybe separately. And I like that Tyson clearly is thinking the same thing. As
Mhm.
Percy looks at Tyson, he says, "Now." And he says, "Thank the gods he understood." He turned and smacked Aureus 30 feet backward into the swimming pool. And a zombie tourist family goes, "Ah, we are not having a blast in the pool."
It's funny. It's funny. Good
Yeah, it's
running
good.
gag.
I
Uh-huh.
feel like it's one of those things where it's like, is it the best humor that this book has had? No, but it needed something to cut the tension because holy shit,
Yeah.
that battle of
There's
wits.
a There's a lot, yeah, and, it got a chuckle out of me. That's
It
funny.
did.
The totally literally the mystified passengers saying stuff like, "We love the cruise. I loved being in the pool. I'm having a blast." Funny callback. That was silly. Good job, Rick. And Percy notices that they're in this corridor, but across the deck, there's lifeboats. And if they go below deck, they're not seeing the sun again. Like, this
Nope.
is the one chance. So Tyson does his job, beats the absolute fuck out of Oreius. The two security guards, they're drawing their nightsticks, but Annabeth fucking roundhouse kicks him in the solar plexus, and the other guard starts running for a nearby alarm box. Annabeth screams, "Stop him!" But it's too late. Percy decided he needed an impromptu weapon, grabbed a deck chair, and full on WWE style tried to smash him over the back of the head. Too late. Pulls the alarm, red lights start flashing, sirens wail. Percy, again, one word command, lifeboat! And they start booking it for the nearest one. They get the cover off, and at this point, monsters and security men are starting to swarm the deck. I can only imagine the fucking chaos as they're getting enclosed, swarmed. They're pushing aside tourists and waiters with trays of tropical drinks. There's one guy in Greek armor. He's got his sword out and is charging, but he ends up slipping in a puddle of pina colada. The Laestrygonian archers are starting to assemble on the deck above and notching their arrows with their just absolutely fucking enormous bows. And now we're going from James Bond. This is now quite swashbuckling. We're Pirates of the
Yep.
Caribbean. As Annabeth is like, "How the hell do you launch this thing?" And a hellhound leaps at him, and Tyson fucking coal cocks it with a fire extinguisher and sends it flying away. Percy yells, "Get in!" He uncaps Riptide. He slashes. This is an incredible feat that he just glosses over. He slashed away the entire first volley of arrows out of the air.
Dude, he's so sick.
He is incredible. Power scalers hate him.
Nah,
That
man, he's
it's
just in his
blink of an
favorite
eye.
plane. He's standing in a boat.
That's true.
This is Percy at sea on a boat on a
Yeah,
boat. It's
it is peak.
boatception. He's
It's
too
peak
powerful.
Percy. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. But now we know that he's capable of that. And the lifeboat is hanging over the side of the ship, way high above the water. They don't have a chance to lower themselves. Annabeth and Tyson are really struggling with the release pulley, and Percy just decides, you know what? Fuck it. Hold on! He jumps beside them, cuts at the ropes with his sword, and as they drop, a shower of arrows whistle over their heads as they begin to free fall toward the ocean.
Good
End
ending.
of chapter.
Great ending to a great chapter. That
Oh my
was
god.
so much fun.
Connor, I'm gonna be so fucking for real. I think this is my favorite chapter of the book.
I do fucking love Luke. I do fucking love Luke. I keep thinking about that chapter with those crazy old ladies. And while it
It was
was
really good.
crazy and fun, this has so much more depth to it. That was zany. Let me get you back into the world of Percy Jackson. Look at the weird fucking shit we've got going on. This is normal.
Mhm.
And this chapter, like, not a lot physically happens. It is mostly, like, I would say it's probably 2/3 Percy, Annabeth, and Luke having a battle of wits and just having a conversation. And it might be one of the most impactful, well-written, fucking dramatic chapters of Percy Jackson that we've read so far.
I truly believe that this chapter has a bit of everything, and it has mainly a lot of the stuff that I really like. And that
Yeah.
is us getting to see more of Tyson, like actually do stuff too, which is always very fun. Tyson proving that he is properly an asset for several reasons. We
Mhm.
get to see another thing that I really love when it happens, Percy supplementing Annabeth in ways that she usually supplements Percy, and
Mhm.
and vice versa. We got to see Percy really stand his own and be in his own way, maybe a way that he wouldn't consider heroic, but he got to be heroic.
Yeah,
He
very
stayed
heroic.
cool and calm with his eyes on the prize the entire time, which is awesome. And we got some cool monsters. The stakes were raised so much fucking more because now we understand there's even more going on with this big prophecy. Fucking Kronos is not only in the background, he's now in a box, just getting stronger. He's just reforming.
Yeah, man.
And we got so much Luke. We got so much Luke, and it was all really good, as it
It was
always
so
is.
good. I mean, to go back to Kronos for just 1 second, I gotta say, man, it is crazy going from chapter to chapter to see how much more threatening he is as a concept in a box, and then as someone that Percy actually interacts with. Leave the monster behind the curtain, man. It is so much scarier off screen.
Yeah.
Just all it needed to do this chapter was he's in there, and Percy going, "Oh, fuck,
Oh.
that's the cold feeling. Oh, no."
Uh-huh.
To drive home everything that Kronos represents so much better than, "Welcome, little hero. I'm going to personally taunt you. Fuck you."
Yep.
Like, "Welcome
Uh-huh.
to my home. It's in the underworld. I
Uh-huh.
know you've been here, but it's really shitty, I promise." Like, it just didn't do it for me last chapter, but this chapter, I'm telling you, it's just a refrigerator. It's just a
Mhm.
fucking refrigerator, but it's a scary ass refrigerator.
Yeah, it is incredibly ominous. So with that all said, again, I think actually based on all of this, this is my favorite chapter so far.
Hey, I totally get it, and frankly, I think I agree. I'm looking at the chapter list, and yeah, this one was so good. I think of the first 9, this is absolutely the best one. But that being said, why don't we take a couple of seats on the lifeboat, and over the sound of the motor, I'll try and explain a myth.
Love it.
So, as they are heavily featured as Luke's bodyguards, today I've just got one for us. The tale of Agrius and Oreius. And this is going to be a surprisingly short myth to cover. So I've bulked it out a little bit, don't worry. I've given myself plenty to talk about outside of the myth itself. But the reason for that is that the myth of Agrius and Oreius appears in exactly one primary source. Only one. It comes to us from a collection of short synopses of myths, not even full myths, synopses of myths, that was written around the 2nd century AD by an ancient Greek mythographer that we actually haven't discussed before. His name is Antoninus Liberalis, and the work was entitled Metamorphoses, like the work of Ovid before it. Notably, this comes 1 to 2 centuries after the work of Ovid. And as such, the work of Antoninus Liberalis largely features stories of metamorphosis and change. So, the weird thing about that is though Metamorphoses was likely written in the 2nd century by Antoninus, the only copy we have of it comes to us from a Christian monk who transcribed it in the late 9th century. And this copy actually does still survive to this day. It's now in the Palatine Library in Heidelberg, Germany. And I take the time to point this out because it's going to be relevant. Because the context of the text is now multiple times removed. Because by the nature of Antoninus Liberalis's role as a mythographer, he himself actually cites another work as the source of the story. So he cites the writer Boyus as the original author of the story from his second book, The Origin of Birds. Unfortunately, Boyus's work is lost. So the version of the story that we have today is actually a copy of a synopsis of a story where the original version was written probably nearly 1,000 years ago, perhaps a little bit more, by Boyus, and it's not until the 9th century that the version we have today is translated. So now that we're done with that, we've established where this comes from. We can start digging into the story of Agrius and Oreius. But it's really not the story of Agrius and Oreius at all. It's actually the story of their mother, a woman by the name of Polyphonte. This appears in the 21st section of Liberalis's Metamorphoses, and as I mentioned earlier, it's only a synopsis, so it's very short, and I can just read you the full thing. Of course, I do have interruptions, so I'll have little points to talk about throughout, but largely I'm just going to be reading through the synopses. Polyphonte. Thrassa was daughter of Ares and Tyrrhene, daughter of Strymon. Hipponuus, son of Tribalus, married her, and they had a daughter called Polyphonte. She scorned the activities of Aphrodite and went to the mountains as a companion and sharer of sports with Artemis. Aphrodite, whose activities Polyphonte had failed to honor, made her fall in love with a bear and drove her mad. So, brief interjection here. Since we have so little information from this myth, This is literally all we know about what Palafanti did to deserve this punishment. Simply that she scorned the activities of Aphrodite or failed to honor those same activities. Based on similar stories, because I tried to go look at other times when this has happened and when gods or goddesses have been offended, and that's not hard to find. We've seen many stories where mortals are punished for failing to give proper sacrifice or adhere to a ritual or for doing things that are barred from happening in certain temples. Think like Poseidon and Medusa defiling Athena's temple. There are many, many things that a woman could have done to be punished by Aphrodite. Unfortunately, we have no idea what it was. Based on what this says in scorning the activities of Aphrodite, and specifically the language of failing to honor those activities, makes me feel that it was most likely to be a festival or other rites of Aphrodite that were perhaps rites of sacrifice, who knows, but some religious function or ritual was not properly honored. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, we could have just lost this information because our 9th century transcriber wasn't educated on the culture of the people from which the story came. But nonetheless, we continue. It reads, "By demonic urge she went on heat and coupled with this bear. Artemis, seeing her, was utterly disgusted with her and turned all beasts against her. Palafanti, fearing that the beasts would make an end of her, fled and reached her father's house." So, little bit of a difference here. She is not disgusted and just cast away by Artemis. In the original version, she's disgusted, so Artemis says, literally all animals are gonna try and kill you now. Have fun. So that's
Okay.
fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And we do get another indication of our 9th century monk and his biased understanding of the story. It says specifically that she was compelled by demonic urge to couple with the bear. And I should be clear, I don't blame this 9th century individual. It just happens to be that the only surviving version of this story was copied down by them, so we have to be extra aware of any changes they may have made, intentionally or unintentionally. But consider other stories like this. We talked about Pasiphae and the bull that created the Minotaur. In no point in that story where she desperately wants to fuck a bull that wants nothing to do with her is she ever referred to as having demonic urges that possess her to commit this sin. We often see the gods engaging in sex in the forms of animals and raping humans as animals or each other. Think Poseidon in the form of a horse raping Demeter, or Zeus appearing in the form of a bull to Europa. This is
Yeah.
very
Or
normal in Greek
also a
mythology.
swan, right? Wasn't he a
Yep,
swan one
or a
time? Yeah.
swan that one time. I only say all of this to demonstrate again that this version of the story is likely fundamentally different from what the story started as. Even as far as the synopses that was originally written by Liberalis to the synopses that we can read today. It continues, "She brought forth 2 children, Agrius and Oreius, huge and of immense strength. They honored neither God nor man, but scorned them all. If they met a stranger, they would haul him home to eat. Zeus loathed them and sent Hermes to punish them in whatever way he chose. Hermes decided to chop off their hands and feet. But Ares, since the family of Polyphonte descended from him, snatched her sons from this fate. With the help of Hermes, he changed them into birds. Polyphonte became a small owl whose voice is heard at night. She does not eat or drink and keeps her head turned down and the tips of her feet turned up. She is a portent of war and sedition for mankind. Oreius became an eagle owl, a bird that presages little good to anyone when it appears. Agrius was changed into a vulture, the bird most detested by gods and men. These gods gave him an utter craving for human flesh and blood. Their female servant was changed into a woodpecker. As she was changing her shape, she prayed to the gods not to become a bird evil for mankind. Hermes and Ares heard her prayer because she had by necessity done what her masters had ordered. This is a bird of good omen for someone going hunting or to feasts. And I suppose now is probably a good time to remind you that Antoninus Liberalis cites the source of this myth as a book called The Origin of Birds, which hopefully makes more sense now.
I was gonna say, what's up with the bird stuff?
This is The Origin of Birds.
Uh-huh. Not that I'm, not interested. It's just more birds than I expected.
Why? Yeah, they're the bear twins. Why the birds? But that is the whole myth. And I couldn't just leave it there because we've spent this whole chapter, and I knew we would, Jack. I knew that we would spend this whole chapter just being like, Luke, 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 man, isn't Luke interesting?
Uh-huh. And it was great.
And it was. So I pulled out what Luke says to summarize this story. Because he says, you don't know Agrius and Oreius story? Which, like, of fucking course not. It's a single paragraph in one text that no one studies. It's fine. He says, their mother, well, it's sad, really. Aphrodite ordered the young woman to fall in love. And this is interesting because we never get this context from the original myth. It's entirely possible. We don't know what Aphrodite's rights were that were scorned. So it could be falling in love, but this is a very nebulous area, right? We don't know how much we can trust Luke because Luke is not a reliable narrator in this instance. But we also don't know how much Rick has genuinely changed the story to fill in the gaps.
Right.
Let's continue. She refused and ran to Artemis for help. Artemis let her become one of her maiden huntresses, but Aphrodite got her revenge. She bewitched the young woman into falling in love with a bear. When Artemis found out, she abandoned the girl in disgust. Typical of the gods, wouldn't you say? They fight with one another and the poor humans get caught in the middle. And I'll start out by addressing the idea of her becoming a huntress. That's clearly a more Percy Jackson-centric detail, given that the idea of the Order of Huntresses under Artemis is a Percy Jackson thing. Despite having some aspects based in mythology, it's definitely taken to an extreme and changed drastically to fit these novels, which is totally fine. But he also says that the gods fight with one another and the poor humans get caught in the middle. But notably, the gods were not in any way fighting when a human got caught in the middle. Instead, we know that Polyphonte did something to offend Aphrodite. And that doesn't necessarily mean that whatever she did to offend Aphrodite should have. The gods are fallible and cruel. But this isn't a fight between Artemis and Aphrodite that Polyphonte just got in the middle of. She did piss off a goddess. Furthermore, he says, the girl's twin sons here, Agrius and Oreius, have no love for Olympus. They like half-bloods well enough, though. For lunch, Agrius growls. And so we do get to preserve the part of the myth where they eat people, which is accurate. That's nice.
Love
But
that.
that's where Luke ends it. And there's a whole part about birds that's very important. But like actually though, there's a whole part about birds that's very important because what Luke leaves out is everything with Ares and Hermes.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot of places in Percy Jackson where the bad guys in particular were supposed to have met more permanent fates and then they're able to show up because fuck it, we need cool bad guys. And here, Agrius and Oreius should not exist because presumably they should have been turned into birds. But here's my thought. I think that it is totally reasonable for those birds to have died, they go to Tartarus, and they're resurrected in their monster forms. So then, it's possible that in canon, Hermes and Ares did pity these two. And their mother. Right? Like, it's a single paragraph of reading. I'm sure Riordan read the whole thing before he used Agrius and Oreius. So I know that he knows what he left out. So that begs the question of, did Rick leave it out or did Luke leave it out? And I kind of like to think that it's Luke who left it out. Or maybe he just doesn't know and never bothered to ask. Right? But Agrius and Oreius are right there. So why might he have left it out? Well, Artemis and Aphrodite can clearly represent the follies of the gods. They absolutely embolden his argument that the gods suck and they don't care about mortals, right? As soon as Polyphonte no longer had the blessing of Artemis, Artemis not only rebuked her protection of her, but she was disgusted by her and actively sent assailants after her. It was not a great look. Aphrodite cursed her to fall in love with a bear. Also, not a great look. But Luke believes the gods can never change and that they never care about the fates of their mortal children. But Ares, the most brutal of the gods, in this feels compassion and sorrow for the fate of his grandchild and his great grandchildren. These aren't even like his kids, these are his grandkids and great grandkids. But Ares did. He intervenes because these humans are his family, his lineage. And he goes to Hermes, who is sent to punish them, and he works something out. We see the gods working together to find a positive solution. Look, it's not perfect. They get turned into birds. I'm not saying that they found a good solution. This is Hermes and Ares we're talking about here. But reminder, Hermes was going to cut off their fucking hands and feet. Like, he wasn't fucking
Yeah,
around.
that's true. I guess being a bird is better in some cases.
Look, man, do you want to be a crab guy or do you want to be a bird?
I mean, me personally, I'd be cool being a woodpecker. I see where you're going with this, and I think it's a very commendable take. Unfortunately, if Annabeth, let's say, was in her right mind, she's like, "I know that story," because of course she fucking would, she's Annabeth.
Yep.
It's like, they actually did do this. They came up with a better solution, to which Luke would say, "Yeah, they coulda just not done that. They coulda just not done any of that in the first place. What about that, hmm? They could have not turned them into birds and not cut their fucking arms and legs off. They coulda just not." And that would have been a very good retort, because I'm still thinking, "Damn, they still had to get turned into birds." Like
Look, man, you're not wrong. But I I feel like even if them getting turned into birds is definitely not the ideal outcome, there's something to be said for the way the gods work together. And Hermes listening to Ares saying, hey, I care about these humans. Can we do something more merciful? Undoubtedly, it is still cruel, but I would argue it is less cruel than dismemberment. And I think that Luke leaves all of this out because even if it was thousands of years ago, it shows that the gods are able to change their mind. They are able to reason, they're able to work together. And specifically, his father is able to do all of those things. Hermes is the one who says, all right, I can change their punishment. We know that like Zeus is a dickhead who probably said, you have to punish them. So Hermes is willing to listen and be like, okay, but how? So to me, yet again, Luke is the true deceiver here, more than the gods
Mhm.
are. Because if he has talked to Agrius and Oreius at all, he knows this full story. And he knows that it would undercut his argument and give Percy something to latch on to if he told the full story. So he doesn't.
Mm, interesting.
But that is the full story of Agrius and Oreius. It is a single paragraph, and I did have to work to stretch it out.
Uh-huh. I mean this in the best way. I could tell. I could tell you put
Yeah.
a little bit of a little bit of oomph into that
Well, I
to
had
make
to
that
zhuzh it up a
paragraph
little bit, you
last.
know?
You did.
Couldn't just serve you toast. I had to butter it. I put some
You had to
cinnamon
put a little
sugar on there.
uh-huh, yeah, and it was
I said,
good. It
look,
was
it's not
good,
just
man.
bread, it's brown bread.
It's fancy bread.
But as I
Ugh.
said, that is the tale of Agrius and Oreius. And I actually had a lot of fun with tracking it down and pointing out all the little quirks of our 9th century monk's translation.
Yeah, dude, I mean, it was very interesting. A nice bite-sized myth. I liked that.
Balances out a long and heavy chapter.
Yeah, dude. Oh my god. Oh, that was so fucking good. And what's crazy is I'm looking at the top of my book right now where the bookmark's coming out. We're like
Mm-hmm.
halfway through the book now.
I believe this book is 20 chapters, and that was the end of chapter 9. We're going into chapter 10, so would
Damn.
make sense. We're about
It's
halfway through.
it's fucking flying by. You weren't kidding. I think it was the first episode or maybe the
Mhm.
second that you said that this book just goes at a clip, and
Yes.
you're not wrong. It feels like I guess maybe I'll change my tune once we actually get through the rest of the book, but right now I'm like, "Damn, I feel like we should be maybe a quarter of the way through."
Yeah, it feels like there should be a lot more left, but we're
But,
gonna
like, we've
rip
barely done the
through
quest.
shit.
We
Yes.
barely started the quest. We haven't even really left Half-Blood Hill. This is
No.
the equivalent in terms of distance of like, "Oh, they just got on the Greyhound bus."
Which, funny enough, happens in chapter 10. This is chapter 9.
No shit. Is it
And that one is
actually?
22
Damn.
chapters. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Huh.
surprisingly similarly paced, but that, like, 2 chapters shorter, 50, 20 to somewhere in the realm of, like, 20 to 50 pages shorter, I find made a huge difference in making this one feel so much faster, despite if you, like, plot it on a percentage based, like, at this point of the novel, this happens, at this point of the novel, this happens. It's actually incredibly similar to the first novel. Like,
Huh.
down to the
And
details
yeah.
of chapters 1 and 2 are at school. Chapter
Mhm.
3 is learning about, like, the reality of your situation. Chapter
Mhm.
4 is going to Camp Half-Blood, etcetera, etcetera.
No, you're totally right, and it's just shocking. It's just really surprising.
It does move incredibly quickly, but hey man, I suppose that means we gotta get to the next chapter where we're gonna be hitching a ride with some dead Confederates.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support our content, please be sure to leave a review, share with your friends, and follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Until next time, this has been Notes from the Oracle.
I'm gonna complain a lot about the Confederates next episode, alright?
I look forward to it, Jack. I never thought about, like, when we first started recording, I never thought about, like, oh boy, I'm gonna get to hear Jack's weird history takes on all sorts of random historical things. But, like, of course I was, because myths are, in their own sense, history. But
Mhm.
among them, I completely forgot that we were going to be just hanging out with a genuine Confederate army.
Yeah, a bunch of fucking traitors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that I would
it's,
get to hear Jack's very, like, well-informed historical takes on the fuck-ups that these guys were.
yeah, it's I'm gonna have to make a really concerted effort to not totally derail the chapter into just talking about historical stuff.
See, you say
I
that because I've been thinking about all the ways I can goad you on, because I'm so interested to hear you just fucking rant and rave about this shit.
I'm very curious to see how Rick handles the fact that we're gonna be dealing with remnants of the Confederate States of America and their army and their navy. I will say, and not to give maybe too many of my little fun facts away, Confederate Navy, very interesting. It's not incredibly robust, but there's some kooky stuff. The American Civil War had a lot of really weird things where they were just trying stuff. Both sides were. It's the first war, modern war at the very least, where aerial reconnaissance was a thing. So, like, using hot air balloons to scope out battlefields. I believe this is also the first war, major war, in which photography was used to capture the events after battles so
Yeah, I
people
remember it
could
was, like, the
see.
first war that you could see pictures of it in newspapers.
Yes, yeah, where you would just see the horrors of it. It really is, and there's this kind of back and forth. Maybe it's more of a folk theory now, but this idea that war was seen as very romantic once upon a time, especially in, like, the Napoleonic era. where it's the idea of there is an honor to it, there is a prestige with it. It's something that you take great pride in, and this was one of the first wars where the average person wasn't, like, super jazzed about, "Whoa,
Yeah, like,
you
wait,
you
this
fought in
fucking
the war."
sucks.
They're like, "That's awful. Holy shit, we're doing that to each other?" Because there was always a way that you could keep it kind of at arm's length. Like, people would share things in letters, but it's different when you can actually see just a field of mud and blood and bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
It humanizes it, which, war doesn't last long when you humanize it. It's pretty incompatible, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, that's see, and this is why I wanted you to rave and rant about this sort of shit.
That's what you were looking for?
Yes! It I e like, 'cause that's the type of thing that, like, I don't remember, right? Like, you say that and I go, "Oh, yeah, that was" like, I remember in history class being taught about how it was really a big deal that they were posting in the newspapers pictures of these horrible fucking battlefields. But that's the type of thing that I, as a modern person who does not like scary shit, and history is often scary shit, I avoid.
Terrifying.
So when you're like, "Yeah, no, this is the thing that, like, civilians were seeing," it's like, "Oh my god." Like, even today, you can access footage of, like, for example, what has been going on in Gaza, right?
Mhm.
Or even here in America, like, you can see what the fuck ICE is doing on our streets,
Yeah.
but it's not everywhere. It's not in your daily newspaper that you're like, "Oh boy, can't wait to do today's crossword," and what the fuck is that?
Well,
Like,
yeah, I it's the issue now is we're so inundated with it that we're numb. We're just
yeah, we're
numb to it.
desensitized.
Imagine I mean, really think back, Connor. Really think back to when you were a kid and you had as close to unrestricted internet access as possible, and you stumbled on something that you didn't wanna stumble on. It was a total mistake, and it could
Yeah.
be a dead person or, something else that just it could be me with my blue waffle, you know? Like,
Yep.
there is an innocence that is taken away
I'll
when you can see those things, not just imagine, but see
Mhm.
them
No, I'll tell
that
you exactly what the moment was. A
Uh-huh.
friend of mine in elementary school showed me a video of a motorcycle crash,
Mhm.
and the guy loses his head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Stuff like
that's my
that.
moment where I was like, "Oh my fucking god, what on
Yeah.
earth?"
Well, I
I
mean,
know
like,
exactly what you're talking about, and, like, that would
it's
still horrify me today, but I genuinely
of
think I'd be like,
course.
"Well, it's just on the internet, like, everything's on the internet."
Right, exactly. It's we are more again, desensitized to it. I use the term numb to it, which is bad. Like, that's a really not good thing. But back in the day, people would see pretty horrible shit, and people would have to deal with death on a more regular basis. I mean, it's the concept of infant and mother mortality. Like, it was not uncommon for people to have to carry dead bodies and see a corpse. But seeing a corpse is, of somebody who passed during childbirth is very different from seeing the corpse of somebody who got their fucking leg blown off by a cannonball.
Yeah. Yeah, man. War is
And so a
fucking
lot of people,
scary.
like, they were just seeing that, and it was the first time, and it really changed the hearts of a lot of people when it came to, like, this is not good. This is
Yeah.
not this is not great, and you hear a lot more about that in World War One, where, like, if the Civil War was, ooh, there was a lot of brutality but it was still kind of there was this sense of romance when it came to war and being a soldier. Maybe it was no less war and more the the concept of fighting for country, and then World War One comes where, like, there's footage and there's pictures and people are coming back and, you know, we medicine has gotten decent enough that there are people coming back that can live and tell the tale and also have the scars and amputated limbs to show the ill after effects. The idea of being shell shocked, PTSD, mental health being more at a forefront of the toll of modern war and what we are able to do as humans to just kill and slaughter and maim each other. It all really started, and again, this everything I say could be argued, right? History always loves and historians always love the counterfactual. But really the idea of modern war, we see that around the time of the Civil War and then, like, the Mexican American War, which came before that, in which, again, another little kind of diatribe detail, a lot of what happened in the Civil War was, it was people that fought and, I guess, conducted war in the Mexican American War. So these aren't people that have been armchair generals or commanders or combatants. These are officers who fought already. And so they got to perfect a lot of their, where they got to kind of try out more of the modern war technology in the Mexican American War. They got to really perfect and experiment even further with it in the Civil War.
Yeah. Dude, the history of war is fascinating and terrifying to me.
Oh, it's awful. It's truly awful. And that is why people who are exclusively military historians, I get so weirded out by them. Cuz I get it. It's very important, but there are people that view it in kind of this glory. They like venerate the history of war and it's like you're a monster. You're either a monster or you actually don't study this stuff. If you're looking at war and just looking at the battle lines and strategy, I'm sorry, you're not a historian. You're just a dweeb that's obsessed with, like, stats.